your pain. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Conditioned by misinformation, it's just the media telling us lies. Decipher fiction from the truth. Society's slow and tragic demise. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Everyone's got their fucking opinion.
What's happening? What's happening, gang? It's the New York Hardcore Chronicles live episode 349. Oh, imagine that. I'm just a little heads up. I'm in. Hey, what's happening? Robert Hogg in Scotland, dude. How are you? How's things in Scotland? Right? Mark Tulch in Canada, my dude. Good to see you. Hey, Cindy, how are you, hon? All right, good. The gang's all here. Lots going on. Just a heads up, I'm in between computer systems here. So I'm not, I'm actually in the process of purchasing like a big new computer that's gonna make things a little bit easier. But we're good for today. That said, you know what? Got a couple things to talk about before we bring our guest on. Let me bring Lori Dawn on. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
I'm excited to do the show today.
Yeah.
Hey, Emil NY96, yo, what's up? And Andrew Wakeman, good. Come on, everybody get involved in the show today. Roll up your sleeves. I tell you what, I'm on this in-between system. I'm on Rochelle's computer, and
right.
things are crystal clear. I'm like kind of psyched to get this new computer.
All right, cool. Yeah.
Let's bring our co-host on today. He's a longtime journalist, author, and musician. As a drummer, he's played in dozens of bands, including The Undead, Big Face, Broken Heroes, and his current project, Rise, Reign, Revolt. He got his start in the music business as a promoter for the Misfits. And as an author, he's written 7 books, including one that's featured in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Library and Archives. Please welcome, joining us from the Live Free or Die state of New Hampshire, my friend and yours, Mr. Gerald Gustin.
Hey, how are you?
You got your voice back.
Thank you.
Yes, back 100%. It only took 3 friggin' months, but I'm back.
Wow. Yep. Good.
That's great.
Good.
I forgot what your voice sounded like without being all hoarse and everything.
What was that? I'm sorry?
I forgot what your voice sounded like.
I'm so bummed out because the voice eventually took on this whole like Tom Waits thing.
Yes.
And I was talking to a buddy of mine, Knox Chandler. He used to play guitar in the Banshees and the Psychedelic Furs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, listen, I can't let this terrible voice of mine go to waste. Let's do a spoken word project. You can do some musical accompaniment. And he's all in. The day I go to record it here at home, my voice came back. So
it sounded painful, though.
It didn't really hurt. It just didn't friggin' work. And I talk for a living, as you know, as a journo. You know, I do sometimes 6-7 interviews a day. And it was torture, and I couldn't rest it because I had to earn a living. So it just went on forever. But hello, everyone. I'm back. My silky smooth voice has returned.
That's great. You know, a couple things to mention, and sort of on the sad tip, a couple people have passed. And first, I want to say, a friend of ours. I know, Joel, a friend of yours. Kevin Clement passed away. Joel, you want to tell everybody kind of who was Kevin and in the big picture of things?
Yeah, Kevin Clement was the mastermind behind Chiller Theater, which is a long-running horror convention, a bit of a hodgepodge of all sorts of things convention, held in New Jersey. A major cultural event that happens in my home state of New Jersey. If you've never been there, it's worth going to. Just a really creative mind, kept that thing going for decades. I'm sure it will continue, certainly, in his memory. I attended Chiller Theater a bunch of years. I actually vended there one year with my dad, and had a really wonderful time there. And, I when I was in the Undead, Bobby Steele and I would go to Chiller Theater together. Just a lot of great memories attached to that event. So obviously we're all going to miss Kevin, and we'll hold him close to our hearts as we go to future Chiller Theater events.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Kevin was, dude, I don't know. This guy created it. He was the force behind it. It's really sad. I know his health was declining in the past few years. He was very kind to me. When the Alago film came out, we had a table, a booth there one year, and it was really fun. I tied it in with the release of the New York Hardcore Chronicles film, and we had Vinny Stigma and Mike Gallo from Agnostic Front signing posters at Chiller Theater for everybody. And Kevin was kind to me, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that right? Kirk Hammett posted something about him. I saw that. That was very cool. I saw that. Yeah. Yep. And the other thing is our friend who was just on the show a couple months ago, not that long ago, Jennifer Finch passed away, and it was, I don't want to say it was very sudden, of course, very sad, right, Lori?
Very shocking. Very shocking. She was on our show in January talking about, the future L7 tour that she was really excited about, and her photography. And it's just absolutely just a huge, huge blow to the music world, really. I mean, L7 was just such a influential band, and Jennifer was just one of those people that, her personality was just larger than life. She was just uncompromising, and
she was a character.
Yeah.
I mean, when she was on the show, she was like, it was a whole. She was
not one to wait for questions. She was just over, and
she jumped in and ran the show. And afterwards, you and I talked, Laura. We were like, wow.
I was like, did she like us? Like, I think
we were confused. We were confused by the whole thing. We were like,
happened.
Yeah.
But she did. She really enjoyed her time, and she wrote us a really beautiful write-up afterwards. And she was just an incredible human being. And just knew what she wanted and knew what she needed to do for herself to make her happy, and she just did it. And that's a lesson that we should all learn from her life. She lived right up to the end. Right up to the end, she lived.
She did it her way in the end. I think what's kind of crazy is it's obvious now that when she did our show fairly recently, of course she was dealing with her health issues at the time. It didn't.
I wonder, maybe she was feeling maybe symptoms or something, but I wonder if she even knew.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like there was any hesitation of future plans or her touring. She's all into that. So it seems like it might have all been a shock.
I know Mark Tolch, loves that band. He says, Lori Dawn, your moderating on the Jennifer Finch episode really took it up a notch. And it was appreciated. I know Mark Tolch loves L7 and Lunatics up there in Canada. He loves those bands. Andrew Wakeman says, I'm kind of reeling from Jennifer's passing. Lots of us knew her or met her. I also lost 3 ex-band members in 3 months now. Very Good Lord, man.
So sorry. So sorry. Just my heart goes out to everybody who knew Jennifer and loved her music, and it's just really, really tough when people like this pass, but their music lives on.
Yeah.
Their music lives on, and
She left a mark. She left an echo. She let a ripple in still water, and rest in peace, Jennifer Finch. Very, very, very sad. Yes, Joel.
Can I share a quick L7 story?
Yes, please.
Joel, can you please share a quick L7? Please.
Yes, please.
All right. I was trying to remember the exact year. It was either 95 or 96. I was at the Stone Pony in Asbury Park for either the first or second Warped Tour. if I recall correctly. And they weren't on the Warped Tour yet. I believe L7 played later, like as the tour went on over the years. But we're outside the Pony, and we hear this noise between bands. We look up, and there's a blimp going across, like in the sky, with a big banner behind it. And we're like, what the fuck is this? And the banner says something to the effect of, time to put some pussy into your punk fest. Love L7.
Oh, jeez.
So, and I want to believe that was Jennifer's idea, because that would be the perfect Jennifer Finch idea. To have this fucking blimp, circle around during the Warped Tour. I thought it was fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Those girls took no prisoners. Girls took no prisoners, man. They really. Those girls were a fucking handful, man. It was a lot when L7 was sort of in that era, man.
I think her episode with you guys is one of my favorite episodes, because
what's interesting. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, first of all, she's breaking your balls the entire time, but she's doing it with a wink. Like, you can tell she was like, just enjoying the moment and having to go. I think when Cindy Half Rats was on, she had to go at Cindy as a joke.
So, and you know what? The way her face lit up when Cindy came on, it was just so. It's the one. So I rewatched the episode. I never rewatched these episodes, but I rewatched that one because I just needed to. And yes, you're absolutely right, Joel. And the way her face lit up, seeing Cindy, it was really heartwarming.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here we are today, and it's about music and the community and culture of music, and the tie that binds us together. I mean, not to be corny, but that's why we're here. Music, and we keep it positive, and appreciate everybody out there and that supported the show and is here today. So, Billy, what's up, Billy? I'm tuning in from a guitar craft course in Royalstown, Massachusetts. Okay,
fun.
Crafting guitars.
That is really cool, actually.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah,
love it.
But before you get ejected from the pod, Lori.
Yes.
Chris, Joel. Chris Foley from SSD makes mandolins and fiddles. I think. I mean, that was been his trade with his hands. He creates guitars and mandolins. He's like an expert.
Oh, wow.
A luthier, right?
A luthier, I think, I don't know how broad the term a luthier is. I don't know if that's just guitars. I feel like it's guitars, mandolins, stringed instruments.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Chris. He's a nice guy.
Yeah. All right, Lori. Well, good to see you, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Have a good show, everyone.
Yep. Well, right on. Yeah. All right, before we bring our guest on, let me just say that this is it. It's the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by the Texas Silver Rush, Generation Records, Women of the Pit, Gamma Bass Guitars, and Minty Fresh Presents. They're a promotion company that put on hardcore metal shows at Locals Bar in Manalapan, New Jersey. Founded by Chris Gallis of Bulldoze and Frankie DeAngelis of Silence Equals Death, the shows are all ages with plenty of free parking. The kitchen's open all night in the bar till 2 a.m. If you're a band looking to play and you don't totally suck, or if you do suck but draw a fuckload of people, reach out to them at mintyfreshpresents@gmail.com. Ticket pre-sales for events are available at mintyfreshnj.com. Check them out on Instagram at mintyfresh and help spread the word to support DIY hardcore and metal in Central New Jersey. Minty Fresh Presents. So there you go. Let's bring our guest on. Let's roll up our sleeves and let's do it to it. Today's guest is an American drummer hailing from Clifton in the Garden State in New Jersey. He is known for his work with Sonic Youth, Pussy Galore, John Spencer, Bewitched, the Chrome Cranks, Retrovirus, and much, much more. Please welcome, coming at us from Hoboken, New Jersey, Mr. Bob Bert. Hey, man.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
Bob.
Hi, guys.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Good. How's things in Hoboken?
Well, a square mile. It's gotten kind of fancy over the years. I moved here in 1981,
Wow.
So it's changed quite a bit, but it's still a lovely town, beautiful view of Manhattan, easy access to Manhattan and Brooklyn. I have a practice space / recording studio here in town. So it's all good. Yeah.
Wow. Hi, Bob. Jojo says hi. Not sure which Jojo, but Jojo says hi.
Hello, Jojo.
I remember Hoboken, having grown up here in Manhattan and being like a city kid. I remember Hoboken at the end of the 70s and the early 80s, and it experienced quite an incredible transformational period in the 80s. Of course, going into the early 90s, and I think we'll get into this a little bit, but Maxwell's and everything that came. I have fond memories of that main street where Maxwell's was.
Washington Street, yeah, sure.
Washington Street, yeah, absolutely.
So, Bob, how much was rent in 1981 in Hoboken?
Well, actually, I was living in Manhattan, and I met my future wife, who was living in Jersey City, and we didn't want to move to either of those places, so we compromised, and she turned me on to Hoboken. And we found a place on Hudson Street between 8th and 9th. It's like the nicest block in the town. And it was $500 a month, which at the time was kind of steep.
Yeah.
And now that apartment is probably $3,000 or something, something crazy like that.
Yeah. It reminds me of when I came back to New York from Boston in '83. We were looking at lofts in like lower Manhattan, and we looked at this huge loft on Canal Street, it was a huge loft, and it was $750, and it was a lot,
Yeah.
$750 in '83. And it was too rich for our blood. We couldn't afford it, but it was for many years. When I drove past Canal, I go, see those windows right there? Like that could have been the command center to conquer the world.
When I moved to Manhattan for a while in 1978.
Oh wow!
And I had an apartment on 7th Avenue, right off 23rd Street. It was illegal, but I was only paying $115 a month.
Wow.
But of course, I got thrown out after 9 months, but still.
All right. So that said, let's bounce the ball back and forth. Let's chop it up a little bit. How did you come up? Did you grow up in a musical household? How did music come into your life?
No, I didn't grow up in a musical household. Actually, my father was a famous football player. He won the Heisman Trophy in 1943.
For the Fighting Irish.
Yeah. And I grew up in a regular, in the 50s, 60s. Even though it was 10 miles out of Manhattan, it was total suburbia. It was, leave it to Beaverville. And so, people my age, most of them will tell you, when I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan at the age of 8, it's hard to imagine now, but what a culture changing event that was. And so that inspired me to play the drums. So I took drum lessons for a year when I was 12. And, and I was just, go ahead.
I just wanted to sort of dip in about your dad. Your dad was a beloved figure. He played for Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. He won the Heisman Trophy, which is absolutely incredible. And didn't he fight on Iwo Jima? Wasn't he a Marine?
He was. In fact, there was a documentary not that long ago. It was called The Atomic Bowl. There was a site where an atomic bomb dropped, and my father organized a football game, there during Memorial Day weekend or something, and it became this historical event. And
I read about it, and your dad, guys your dad brought in guys into the Atomic Bowl that were in the service, and afterwards he actually played with some of them. In his after he played after the war. But wow, growing up with a dad like that and sort of like a beloved figure, I guess music wasn't really sort of in his realm. But one thing we've talked about a lot on the show is sort of that era when you grew up, how like the radio was always playing and the radio. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit? Did that play into sort of your musicality growing up?
Oh, totally. I mean, I had the transistor radio, waiting around. Everything was like top 40, so I'd be waiting around, listening to all these horrible songs, waiting for Psychotic Reaction or Good Lovin' by the Rascals or things like that. And right next, my father owned a few liquor stores, and one of them, which was in the Stuyertown Shopping Center, was right next door to a record store. And so I spent a lot of time in there and was buying 7 inches and stuff like that. So
what was the first music that like you felt connected to, that like, this is mine, this is speaking, like all that I hear on the radio, but this is speaking to me?
Well, the British invasion was a big thing, and I was always attracted more to the counterculture of things. Like, I would go into the record store and there would be the Beatles and the Stones, and I would be like, "What's this Fugs? Who are they?"
Yeah.
With Freak Out by the Mothers of Invention, and I was always intrigued.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That's what. So that kind of stuff drew me in, and I always had an open mind, and I was really, along with the Beatles and the Stones, I also was really into the Birds and the Animals and the Kinks, and all that stuff. So.
You mentioned Freak Out and the Fugs, and that stuff. I mean, looking back in retrospect, that stuff was out there. I mean, I love Frank Zappa, and I love the early Zappa stuff. And we had Gary Lucas from Captain Beefheart on, and personally, I love a lot of that really early Zappa psychedelics. I mean, not that Zappa was psychedelic. I don't particularly think so, but I'm saying. I mean, getting into that stuff already is sort of sending you in a pretty wild direction,
Well, yeah, because I was also, I turned 14 in 1969, and that's when I started experimenting with, acid and smoking pot and stuff like that.
Sure.
And I just remember the Mothers album, We're Only in It for the Money. I mean, listening to that high on headphones, there was nothing like it. It's just like,
yeah, I'm a big fan and a little bit of a historian when it comes to the Zappa catalog. I saw Zappa early on, and I saw him a bunch of times, and I mean, Frank Zappa is like the gift that keeps giving. I swear to God, I still listen to stuff and go, okay, I get this. I get this now after frickin' 45 years. Like, I'm understanding what's happening here. Not that this is about me, but I got to say that's happened with me with some music where I'm finally starting to understand what's going on there. That some of that stuff is like that for me.
Yeah. I went to see him at the Fillmore East when that with Flo and Eddie were in the band.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
Unfortunately,
71.
I went to the early show, so I missed the John Lennon Yoko Ono jam that happened at the late show.
the infamous. That's an infamous jam, because John Lennon took that music, renamed it, put it out, and didn't even credit Zappa, and it led to some ugliness between them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me ask you. Why drums, Bob? Like, what drew you to drums and percussion, and like, how did that look? Like, how did you get your first drum set? Like, what's up with that?
I thought you said why drugs. Okay.
Nah. Listen, we all know that tale. Nothing new there.
I don't know why. I was always, one of those kids that was always tapping on things, and I used to pace a lot, and it just drew me in. And a friend that lived on the next block, his brother had a drum set, a Slingerland drum set up in the house, and he had all these drum catalogs and just all the different colors they came in and whatnot. And I don't know, it just drew me. And like the few attempts I even tried to even pick up a guitar or any other instrument, I just couldn't even deal with it.
Yeah. And who inspired you early on? Like, hey, I want to play drums. Were there anybody in particular that like you felt like really kind of inspired you?
Charlie Watts, yeah.
Come on now, there you go. Yeah, what an interesting drummer. Like Charlie Watts gets grief like the same way you hear Ringo Starr getting grief. You know, he wasn't a great drummer and this and that. And it's like, come on, man. I can't believe, stop it. Charlie Watts had an interesting flow to him. The way that right, Joe, comment as a drummer.
Yeah, I mean the man was spot on, and even when he was touring in his 70s, he'd have this old beater kit on stage, playing stadiums. Everything was like duct taped together. He was a real thing. I think it was Keith Richards who said one time they were testing his timing. So Charlie was just like getting ready to get his levels going to record, and they had a metronome, and Keith's like, he's totally in the pocket. Like it was just
interesting,
And he just played like he never broke out in a sweat. He's just, he's playing like stadiums, and it's just kind of like
sure. Yeah, JPMY and Charlie Watts had a great jazz background, excellent drummer. Yeah, I mean, years later, I remember Charlie Watts orchestra coming through New York. I actually saw them at the Ritz. I saw the Charlie Watts orchestra, and it was an interesting night of music.
Yeah,
it was good. JoJo. Okay, I'll try to remember that. So drums come in and this drums come in and this and that. What does that look like? How do you start playing music with other people?
Well, when I was a kid, I was taking the lessons, and I had a few other friends in the neighborhood, and we would go down to my basement and like kind of like jam on songs like "Dirty Water" by the Standells, and a lot of the high school cover bands were like into Cream and doing stuff like that.
Sure.
But when I moved out of my house at 18, like drums were the farthest thing from my mind, and I totally was pursuing fine art. I was totally obsessed with the Andy Warhol and the factory scene, and I was still going to tons of shows. I was a big music fan, but the thought of actually being in a band or being a musician never crossed my mind, and that didn't happen until I moved to Hoboken in '81, and I accidentally I was at a show, not at Maxwell's, at a different place, seeing some friends play, and one band didn't show up, and so someone said, "Hey, is there a drummer?" And Linda, my girlfriend at the time, said, "Yeah, Bob plays drums." So I got up on stage and jammed with these two guys. One of them turned out to be Peter Missing of the Missing Foundation.
Wow.
So we jammed around. He was spouting some words. I was playing some tribal beats, and this other guy went by the name of Jeff Holiday, was playing the guitar. And there was a guy there named Pat Clark who lived on top of Maxwell's, who was like responsible for bringing the fall to Maxwell's all the time, and he was booking shows, and he started booking shows, and all of a sudden I was in a band, and we played a bunch of shows, and that was that. And then like 7 months later, it got too insane. Me and Peter were on two different wavelengths mentally.
What a surprise!
Yeah, surprise. And then things got kind of crazy because part of our shtick was throwing all this stuff around the clubs we played. And, it started out with like confetti and pieces of cloth. And then it turned out, one of the last shows I did, we were playing at the First Tramp, which was on 24th Street. They used to have this series called Wonka Tonka Mondays. And we played a bunch of those. and things got out of hand. And one night I was playing and I got smacked in the head with a hardcover book. And I'm like, okay, I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
So I left that behind, and and then a few months later, I was in Sonic Youth.
Right. Joel, you got anything, or should we keep it rolling?
Well, that thing you were doing with Peter, that was drunk driving, correct?
Yes.
And do any recordings exist to that? Was anything ever released?
Yeah, we made like a 6-song demo tape, which you could listen to now on YouTube. But yeah, it never got released, and it was just put up on YouTube a few years ago because someone was doing, I think, Michael Chaikin, he was an archivist. He was doing, I think, maybe it was Jim Farrat's archive. So he had all these tapes that were sent to Danceteria, maybe, and he dug up this cassette, and I had a pile of them, and but I was just kind of like, wasn't my proudest moment. I was just barely being able to play, and so. But yeah, we did record the thing, but never was officially released.
So for someone that could barely be able to play, how is it that the timeline that you end up in Sonic Youth 7 months or whatever later, and sort of get involved, get on that train, which starts rolling pretty hard?
Okay, so like I said, I got more into art. So I went to school of visual arts. I learned how to do a bunch of stuff, and one of them was how to silkscreen print. So I became a fine art silkscreen printer, and I got a job doing that in like 77, I guess. And I ended up actually printing Andy Warhol's artwork in the 80s until he died, when I was in Sonic Youth and Pussy Galore. So I was working, and I was very aware of what was going on. I was going to shows. I was buying all the magazines. And so I read about Sonic Youth in the New York Rocker that, the composer Glenn Branca was putting out. He was starting a record label, and his first release was going to be this band Sonic Youth. And so I was still working in Soho. I saw their record come out. I bought it. I really liked it. And I went to see them play a few times when Richard Edson, their first drummer, was still in the band.
Right.
I saw them at the Mud Club once and at CBGB's. And then one day I walked into the same record store. It was Rocks in Your Head on Spring Street, or Prince Street. And and there was a flyer on the wall that said Sonic Youth need a drummer. So I took the flyer off the wall. I still have it. And I called them up, and then, I met them and auditioned, and that was it. And then I just recently, in recent times, after reading Thurston's book, I found out that I was actually the only person that called up. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wakeman says, "Wow, that's some prestige printing." Yeah, that must have been it must have been kind of stressful, like printing Warhols. No.
No, it wasn't stressful at all. I was like working. I wasn't. People always get the misconception when I say printed Warhol. They say, "Oh, you worked at the factory." I'm like, no, this was way later. I never even really saw Warhol, but where I worked, we made all his artwork, all his paintings.
So in other words, you got the contract to print his artwork, and you did it in the luxury of your own environment.
No, I worked for a man named Rupert Smith, who was Warhol's right-hand man.
I see.
And we did all of his artwork there, and all the print editions and paintings. So it's like when I let's say I go to the Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh, which I've done a few times. Sure. I can walk around and say, "Hey, I made that. I made that." Whenever, like those camouflage gigantic Last Supper paintings. We did those there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But it wasn't
right on.
It was. I worked a lot of times on the night shift by myself.
Yeah.
So it was. And it was.
Yeah.
As far as silkscreen printing went, this stuff was really easy compared to the schlocky things I did before, which someone would make a oil painting and then they want a print edition.
Sure.
It'd be like 60 colors or whatever.
I guess things changed somewhat when they've made these big Giclée printers and all that in a lot of ways, that's sort of, I mean, people can buy these big gangster printers and print their work now. I would think that is sort of encroached on that world, correct?
I don't know. I think a lot of stuff is still done by hand.
Yeah.
Anything that's like, like a famous artist, they're not going to just, unless they're making like, 1,000 posters for a museum or something.
True.
Anything that's a limited edition by, someone like Warhol or Lichtenstein or whatever.
Yeah.
That's all that's hand done.
Where was the location? Were we working in New York? Were we coming in the city at the time?
Yeah, I was living in this. Yeah. No, actually, I was in Hoboken. It was right off of Canal Street downtown.
The reverse commute. No,
Exactly.
Actually, no. It's a commute. You were coming in from Hoboken, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
On the PATH train.
Yes.
Still
riding the PATH train.
Yeah, right. So, as far as Sonic Youth goes, when you got involved, when you joined, was the band drawing crowds? Was it an exciting band to join? I mean, I know things I'm kind of making my way to sort of Confusion Sex and Bad Mood Rising here, but when you first joined, where were they at in the trajectory?
Oh, they weren't drawing bands at all. They weren't drawing people at all. It was it was 1982 when I joined, and the first show that I played with them was November 3rd, 1982, with Swans and this band Don King at CBGB's, and it was I was thrilled to be playing at CB's because I had been going there for 5 years already, or 7 years already. I first started going there in '75, and so and then like Lydia Lunch and Ardo Lindsay were at the show, which to me was a big thrill, and that was the night I met Lydia. We've been close ever since.
Sure.
So, and so it was like, and then we then right soon after I joined, we went on the very first tour, which was down south with Swans. Each band just had one EP out. No one knew who we were. We had 10 people in a van with a U-Haul, and I was the only one that didn't smoke cigarettes, so it was like traveling in a cloud, and it was quite an experience. We're playing to like hardly anyone. The Swans were like the loudest band in the universe, even more so back then, I think. And they were all, Michael Girard was quite the personality, and it was kind of crazy being like in this van with no seats and like shag carpet, and members of the Swans are throwing punches at each other over your body and stuff.
So they were fiery right out of the gate. So
Oh yeah.
yeah. I guess this is a pretty early shot of you guys.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
that was probably 1982 for 3.
Yeah. And sort of moving forward, in that early era, any peers, like anybody sort of, who are your peers when Sonic Youth, and I know you mentioned the Swans, of course, but who did you guys play with early on, and when things started bubbling up a little bit?
We did a lot of shows with Live Skull and Rat R. And all the bands that were around back then. I don't know, the Bag People. It was a lot of times it was the same. We did a lot of shows with Swans, and then I
remember seeing a lot of that, and things started. Joel, feel free to jump in. You got anything or?
Well, Bob, you just mentioned some great names. Got to give a shout out to Victor, Rat R, and you mentioned Bag People. A little bit of a hardcore connection there. Gayleen Goudreau from Bag People was in Scab, the all-girl hardcore band, a tour with AF. You
No
know,
kidding.
so I think she was in Blood Sister as well, a bit later in the 80s. And Gayleen's still around. The Bag People did a reunion like a year or so ago.
Billy's like bag people. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and Al Kesey's from Swans came from that band as well.
Algis was in the Bag People too, right?
Yeah, Algis, Carolyn Master.
Right.
They later did a band called Of Cabbages and Kings.
That's right.
Wow.
And the world gets smaller and smaller because Teddy Parsons was the drummer for that band. So,
Right. Yeah.
you know, it's one
Bob,
big family out there.
Yeah. Excuse me, Joel, bringing it. There you go. The great color commentary of the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live.
Well, I did have a question specifically about this era in that, you know, you go to New York City today, for example, you go to where CB's used to be, you walk a couple blocks, you go to, you know, the Bowery Palace, I guess it's called now, Jesse's place.
Yes.
And you'll see a 7-Eleven, a freestanding ATM. I played CB's in the 90s, and I can assure people who aren't from New York, it wasn't like that in the 90s, and it certainly wasn't like that in the 80s. So, I mean, what was New York like back then? Was it the Road Warrior, or has it been?
It was pretty crazy because even, you know, my first rehearsal after I met Sonic Youth I met them at a diner on Avenue A, and then we walked over to audition. It was at Michael Gerard lived in this cement bunker, which was on 6th Street and Avenue B. There was no windows, and it was just like that neighborhood was really scary. And you know, people always say, "Oh, you know, I remember St. Mark's in the 90s and the 80s." I'm like, hey, I remember it in the 60s. But showing my age a little bit. But you know, so yeah, I mean, you know, and then I went from Sonic Youth to Pussy Galore, whose rehearsal space was on Avenue B right off Houston. And actually, John Spencer still has that space, which is, I think it's just a storage space now, but he still pays rent.
Wow.
I think a few people practice there. And,
Holy
and that
shit.
was, just walking over there, you know, was every other person works, you know, I got this, I got that. And, you know, one time, you know, I walked down the hallway to get to the basement to go down to the dump where Pussy Galore rehearsed, which is like, didn't matter if it was the dead of winter, it was always 100 degrees down there. You turn on the light, you see, you know, 1,000 water bugs scatter, and then you're stepping over like a member of Cop Shoot Cop who's sleeping in there on the floor. and you know, one time I turned the corner to go into the basement, and there was, you know, a guy standing there with a needle in his arm. I'm like, excuse me, you know, but it was bad. It was scary. It was dangerous. Yeah. You know, it was great because you could drive there and park anywhere. And just as time went on, it just things got, you know how it goes.
I love that perspective. You know what? Putting all that aside, it was kind of great. You could fucking park at least. You know, you could. And I remember because growing up here, like at a young age, I bought a van with my bar mitzvah money. I bought a van like a skinhead utility vehicle, right? So like, you know, I pack in, you know, all my buddies, but I remember in that era, you wanted to go somewhere, you just drive there and park, no hassles.
Yeah.
Fucking go Lower East Side. I'd fly down there. Go anywhere you go, you park, no hassles.
Yeah, the tunnels were $1. The only thing you had to worry about is what was going to happen to your car while you were rehearsing.
Well, the one thing, you could never leave anything in your car parking in Lower East Side. Your window would get smashed, and your shit would end up being sold on the ground on St. Mark's. Like, you could never leave. A million stories about people, you know, I left the guitar in the back, and I ran into the club for a minute. You know, it's just a million of those stories. So, could you give us some perspective on Confusion is Sex? Robert says Confusion is Sex is still one of my favorite Sonic Youth albums. It's just so different to what I was listening to at that time in a good way. Could you give us any perspective on it, the recording process?
Yes. So I'm only on. See, what happened was I joined Sonic Youth, and they're writing all the songs for Confusion is Sex. So I'm with them. We write all the songs. We go on that tour down south, and then there's a second part of the tour. It's a few weeks later out to the Midwest, again with the Swans. And in between those two tours, Sonic Youth fired me, and they hired this. They got some other drummer, and they played this one show at the Mud Club, and that was the show that they were joined at the end by Jeffrey Lee Pierce, who did "I Want to Be Your Dog" with them, which I was kind of bummed because I was probably the only one in Sonic Youth at that time that appreciated Jeffrey Lee, and so anyway, so they get this other guy, and then it turns out that he couldn't do the rest of that tour. So they fired me, and then they called me up and asked me to do the rest of the tour. And being the nice guy that I was, I did it. And so after I got back from the tour, they replaced me with Jim Skolbunos. So Jim Skolbunos ended up playing on the recording of 98% of Confusion is Sex. Now, I went to see them, even though they fired me, I was still hanging out with them. I was still going to see them play. And, there was no bad blood, really. I kind of understood that they needed someone better than me at the time. And so I went to see them play at the Kitchen with Jim. And, Jim's a great drummer, obviously. He's been in the New York Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds for the last 20, 30 years. And but I didn't think he was good with Sonic Youth because he was very light. And back then they were just so loud.
Yeah.
They weren't playing, the big systems yet. So it's just kind of like you couldn't really hear them. And I made a point, as primitive as I was with Sonic Youth, I had these big fat drumsticks. I just banged the shit out of the drums so I could be heard. And so after their show at the Kitchen, I went up to Lee or Thurston. I think it was Lee. I said, "Yeah, that was great, but the way he plays the song "Making the Nature Scene," my approach is way cooler." And they agreed. So they brought me in and let me play on that song, and it turned out I did the song in one take at Wharton Tier's Fun City recording studio, and after that one take, Wharton had to replace all the drum heads because I hit them so hard, and so that song, and then there was a live version of "I Want to Be Your Dog" thrown on the record from the tour. So that's the only two songs I was on Confusion is Sex.
Got it.
And meanwhile, while I was fired from the band, I started playing with two Hoboken musicians, Alice Janice and Karen Cole. And this was they were in the process of, forming the band called Gut Bank. And so I was rehearsing with them for a few months, and it just totally improved my drumming skills. And so one day, Thurston calls me up. I was working at my dad's liquor store, and he's like, "Yeah, man, yeah, we just wanted to try Jim out, blah, blah, blah." So they asked me to come back and play. So,
he came back with his hat in his hand.
Yeah. So I rehearsed with them, and they're totally impressed at how much better I was. And so we did this show. There was a festival called Speed Trials, which is at the White Columns Gallery in Tribeca, and it was like a 5-day festival, and it was the Swans, Lydia Lunch, the 15-year-old Beastie Boys, all these bands played in this art gallery. And so the next day after that show, Lee and Thurston were flying to Europe to tour with Glenn Branca. And while they were there, they were setting up the first Sonic Youth tour of Europe. And so after the show at White Columns, we went to the Ear Inn bar across the street, which I believe is still there. And they asked me if I would go to Europe with them, and I said, well, under two conditions. A, it's not going to cost me a penny, and B, you're not going to fire me when we get back. And that was that. So I went to Europe on their first tour.
Great.
Which was 1983, which was crazy because, they didn't even have a van. We went over there and we toured with Eurail passes, carrying like 13 beat-up guitars and drum stuff and passing them through the trains of windows. And it wasn't like a tour, like, we'd play a show and then maybe 5 days later we had another show. It was kind of, but it was, it was a great experience, and kind of like laid the groundwork for many other indie U.S. bands.
Sure.
Going over. So.
No, it's incredible because it just goes to show the genre doesn't necessarily matter. We always hear it was punk rock. We went over there. It was DIY. Here we go, sort of a parallel genre, and it's the same sort of thing. It's a DIY ethos. You're doing it. You're just carrying shit. And I was thinking as you were saying that, like, it's no wonder that this band broke the way they broke, because they were willing. You were willing to go out and grind like that. I mean, that was a lot of work, man. That was.
And plus, no one knew who we were, and so.
Yeah.
And even though it's just that, from NYC, Sonic Youth, and that kind of drew a bunch of people, and our music, it was so different, especially at that time, and no one, everyone thought we were a hardcore band, and people would come to the show, and our music was just, they never saw anything like it, and we got a great response everywhere we went, and
that's awesome.
Even one point, I remember driving into this German club, and we drive into the parking lot, and there was like 25 male skinheads in the parking lot, and they're all sniffing bags of glue. And I just thought, oh my God, they're going to kill us. And, but even they liked us. So.
So I guess sort of on that same timeline, you do the tour, you're not fired, you stay in the band, some time passes, and then you guys go in and you do this beloved album. Could you give us any or Joel, you want to lead in on this a little bit? Anything you can add?
Well, as I've said before, I think I said it to Thurston, and Bob, you know this. Bad Moon Rising is my favorite Sonic Youth album. Classic album. And it was kind of your swan song in the band as far as recording with them. I did want to mention something related to it. There's a video for the song Death Valley 69, which Lydia sings with you guys on. And when it came time for the video, there were 5 of you featured because Steve Shelley, then of the Crucifix, right? He joins the band, but you're both in the video. And the video, if you've never seen it, directed by Richard Kern. That name should ring a bell for some people watching this. He did all those wonderful transgressive movies in the 80s, Fingered with Lydia, etc., etc. And you can see the video on YouTube. You're all murdered, covered in guts. It's a very visceral, and certainly for its time, pretty shocking video.
Oh my!
So I got to ask you about doing that video and being covered in guts, and I also want to sort of add to that question that clearly you and Steve are in the same video, so I'd imagine it wasn't a lot of bad blood when the time came to move on.
No, so and before Bad Moon Rising, we recorded the Kill Your Idols EP.
That's right. Yes.
We also recorded Death Valley 69 as a 7-inch, a different version, and so as far as the video goes, I had quit the band in '85, and it was on good terms, and so while I quit the band at the end of a European tour, I did the last tour, which was opening for a bunch of shows opening for Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds on their very first tour. And they still had Roland S. Howard in the band, and that was great. And so Steve had happened to be subletting Kim and Thurston's apartment while we were in Europe. And Lee and Thurston had gone to see the Crucifix, I guess, earlier on, and they made friends with Steve. And so, and Steve was actually telling them at the time, hey, I kind of want to, move to New York and, come here and join another band. And so it was kind of perfect, it was kind of like he was there. And, and he was a good thing for the band, not only being a great drummer, but also he owned a band. He actually straightened out all of their business. He's still putting out their records today. And so yeah, it was all on good terms. And I'm really glad that was all written about in Thurston's book, because for a long time I was doing interviews and everybody thought there was this weird friction or whatnot, but there absolutely never was. I never stopped being good friends with any of them, and it was a very easy transformation.
It seemed like Thurston's book. He kind of played it pretty straightforward. He really I enjoyed it. It was a very good read. I really enjoyed his book.
Does anything stand out from the video shoot with the all the organs hanging out and what have you?
Well, the one thing that stands out the most is that the day that we shot that video was the day that Lee's first son was born. So we're laying there on the floor with blood and guts, and then Lee gets the phone call. The shot was finished, and Lee gets the phone call, and he just pushes everything off and jumps out and runs out the door and runs home, showers up, and goes to the hospital.
That's pretty cool. Hey, any perspective on the actual recording process that you remember for this?
Yeah, so we it was recorded at Martin BC's studio out in Brooklyn, and what's the name of the section of the town that he's in? Gowanus. Yeah,
Gowanus. Ooh, Gowanus.
And so Gowanus in 1985.
Wow.
Was we didn't even know it was called Gowanus. We were just going to Brooklyn.
It was a wasteland. It was a wasteland.
It was a wasteland. There were wild stray dogs running around. Yep. It was crazy. And I remember you got to realize this is the first full album I ever played on, which is amazing because it's still we're still talking about it today, and so what I do remember about it was that I remember Martin's mixing board being in the same room that we were, which was very unusual. I didn't even know back then because I wasn't in that many recording studios. But yeah, that was, and we were well rehearsed, and we had performed the album as a full piece a few times. So yeah, and
it's always nice. It's always nice going into the recording studio, and I can't say it's always nice, but I just know from my experience, it's nice when in certain situations when you go into the recording studio and the material is down and you're confident and it and you've played it. What we do is there's usually a couple like that, and there's a couple in the middle, and then we try to create one or two literally in the studio. We kind of run the whole gamut.
Of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was it went pretty smoothly.
Yeah. That said, I'm just trying to go through the timeline here miraculously, so we could sort of at some point get to the present. But how does your hand? How does it play out with Sonic Youth, and why did you leave? And I know and then sort of how does the Pussy Galore thing start? Or you get involved with?
Okay, so I rejoined Sonic Youth, made those records. I did ended up altogether. I played 90 shows with them. I went to Europe with them 3 times, and when we in the beginning of January before I left, we went out to the West Coast and we played that amazing. Still, my favorite show I've played of all time was the Desolation Center show in Mojave Desert with Red Cross and the Meat Puppets and SciComm, which was Perry Farrell's band before James Addiction. And this is like in the middle of Mojave Desert. It's a full moon.
Wow.
There's 400 people there. They're all tripping on acid, which I was just like, this is 1985. People still take this stuff.
Sure.
Of course, years later, the members of Retrovirus are still taking it. But so yeah, that was, and then we went up and played Seattle, and we played with Green River and the U-Men, and so I just we've gone to Europe 3 times for like 6 weeks. It was kind of a financial thing, and they had just hooked up with this guy Paul Smith, who had Blast First Records, and he had put out Bad Moon Rising together with Homestead in the U.S., and he was just like making all these plans, and I was just like freaking out. I'm like, how am I going? I had bills at home that I had to pay, and things like that. So I just decided I wanted to try something different. And people need to realize that at the time it wasn't a big deal. I mean, Sonic Youth weren't really famous until like 6 years after I left.
Right.
It wasn't like So and like for decades, like, why did you quit Sonic Youth? Why did you quit Sonic Youth?
Yeah.
I remember being in Pussy Galore and doing an interview with like the Melody Maker or something, and they referred to me as Bob Best, like like Pete Best, like leaving the Beatles. Like,
yeah.
So it's kind of like yeah. So it was very, very cool, and so
yeah. It was certainly on amicable terms, correct?
Not really on amicable terms. I did shows with them afterwards. Like they did a show at Folk City where Steve was playing with them on stage, and I was playing some drums in one corner, and we had King Coffee from the Butthole Surfers and Teresa in different corners of the room. And Sonic Youth is playing. We're all banging on shit. Richard Kern films are being shown over the band with strobe lights going on, And then there was another time I came out at the Peppermint Lounge, and I was, pre-seeing the future. I was banging on a trash can with Sonic Youth, and I was still going to dinner parties. I was probably hanging out with them more than Steve was, in outside of playing, and. So one night in 1986, I went to the Cat Club to see Einstürste Neubau, the German industrial band, and it was late at night. It was a late night show, and I was standing there talking to Ken and Thurston. I said to them like, "Oh, kind of getting eager to play again. Do you know anybody?" And they said, "Well, this band just moved to town from Washington D.C. called Pussy Galore. And they're standing right over there." So I went over and introduced myself to them. It was, John Spencer, Christina. John Spencer was like 21. Christina was 19, and Julie was like 20 or something. I was already 30. And, they're there with their, brand new leather jackets from Trash and Vaudeville, and their hair dyed black. And, so I went and met them that night. And then a few weeks later, I was standing in front of CBGB, and John Spencer came over and handed me a copy of their EP that they put out themselves called Groovy Hate Fuck. And I said, "Oh, do you need a drummer?" And he wrote his number on it. Took the record home, loved it. Picked up their first 7-inch, loved it. Pure Platters, where I worked in Hoboken, and so the first rehearsal I went to, I was playing a normal drum kit, and they had some other guy banging on metal percussion, and then John Spencer said, like, "I want to combine the two." And so we went to a junkyard, and we, built the drum kit, which was like, had a car gas tank with a big suspension ring and cowbells and, all kinds of things. And that was that.
Wow. Wow. John Spencer was just a force to be reckoned with in those years. That guy. Yeah, and actually, a friend of mine that Jens. You know
Yes,
Jens. Yeah,
of course.
we went to school together here in Manhattan. We
Really?
went to, yeah, we were in junior high, 10th grade together, and
Oh,
it's really interesting. You know what his trajectory's been, and a couple of us who were here in the city going to school. I think he works for Bet Roberts now. He
yes, he does. Yes,
right.
yes.
He curates her
Archive.
her whole catalog, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Great,
Good guy,
great,
old friend,
great
kid
guy.
I grew up with.
Looks exactly the same as he always does.
Yeah. 100%. So, just, yeah, I need to take a quick sponsor break, but before we do, let's tackle this. Let's tackle this. Speaking of beloved albums, what was it like doing Exile on Main Street? Which, pretty incredible, yeah.
Well, that was kind of funny because while I was in Sonic Youth, they were mouthing off to the press that they wanted to do a cover of the Beatles' White Album. And it never really happened. We got through back in the USSR at one rehearsal, and it just kind of like fell by the wayside. So then, not long after, I'm with Pussy Galore, and one of the first things John says to me is like, well, in response to Sonic Youth wanting to do the White Album, we want to do Exile on Main Street. And I said, well, yeah, that's a great idea. I actually prefer that album to the White Album. And that was the first thing I did with them. And, you know, we had a beat-up 8-track cassette recorder, and we went into this old school room, and that's when Neil Haggerty first entered the picture when I first met him. And we just started tackling the songs a few day at a time, a few songs, and Neil was great because he could just like listen to the song and play it immediately, and you know, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then they put out it, then they took the mixes and did all this crazy stuff to it, and put it out as a limited edition cassette. And when John was delivering,
people love it. People love that. They love it, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, In the Red Records has been trying to put it out forever, and for some reason, John and Julie just don't want to go there. But so as John was bringing a bunch of those cassettes to Caroline Records for distribution, he got called into the office, and Keith Wood, who passed away not too long ago, he signed the band, and that's when we started making the other records.
That must have been exciting. Like, fell into that, got it rolling, and you know, I guess just going through the gamut, right? You did Right Now, Dial M, and Wishing My Mellow, right? That must have been a nice run.
Yeah, I mean, you know, both Sonic Youth and Pussy Galore were hardworking bands. Each band rehearsed 3 times a week, which a lot of bands I've been in, once a week was at most. But yeah, no, we, you know, Pussy Galore was a really tight-oiled machine, and we did a lot of touring, and, you know, we had it down where we would do like 30-something songs, one into the other, you know. You can kind of tell on the Live in the Red album that came out from the very last show we played at CBGB's in 1990, I guess it was, or 89 maybe.
Makes sense. Hey, let me do a sponsor break. You got a couple minutes, Bob, if you want to go out and take a smoke.
I got all day.
All right. You got a couple minutes.
I don't have anything to do.
There you go. We'll see you in a couple minutes.
Okay.
Fantastic. All right, Joel. Good. Thank you, man. What a great guest. What a kind soul, and wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I got questions when we come back, so
good.
I'll
Good.
take the ball for a few.
All right, yeah, take 5. Let me push some other stuff.
You got it.
All right. That's right, everybody. What's happening? Thanks for tuning in. You know what this is. It's the the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. We're sponsored by a couple of things, including the Texas Silver Rush. The Texas Silver Rush is a jewelry design firm and boutique store located in the birthplace of the Texas country music scene in Fredericksburg, Texas. They specialize in working in all music genres to design and create unique one-off pieces, as well as to style them for stage, album covers, promo photos, and social media exposure. Their client list includes Rock and Roll Hall of Famers Greg Rolle, Ringo Starr, and of course, Agnostic Front. Information on online sales will be taken at their Facebook and Instagram pages, and of course, www.thetexassilverrush.com. Want to mention, how about some upcoming shows coming up this Sunday, July 26th, from the Dwarves, Black Dahlia will be on the show. What's up? Getting right back into it on Sunday. This show looks like it's being rescheduled because I am producing potentially a big outdoor show in Union Square Park. Details to follow. Wednesday, August 5th, Jason Goldberg of Bad Luck 13. Let's get crazy. Let's get bloody with Jason Goldberg. Sunday, August 16th, Milo from the Descendants, talking about the 40th anniversary of Enjoy. Pat Flynn, Sunday, October 4th. And of course, episode number 450 from Black Sabbath, Mr. Bill Ward, co-hosted by the one and only Joel Gostin. So that's exciting. Stoked on that. Want to mention, tomorrow, Steve Blush is doing a book event at Catalyst Records in Manhattan down on 88 Essex Street. I, along with my bandmate from Incendiary Device, Will Romeo, are doing an acoustic set. We're going to play some acoustic. Basically, we're doing the My War stuff. I'm going to sing some. I'll probably sing. I'll sing most of it. Maybe a My War singer or two might show up. But we're going to do a couple of songs for our friend Steve Blush, who's always been a big supporter of the show here. So he asked, and we like doing things a little bit different. You're not supposed to see that. Hey, and then ID is going to play the Savage Mountain Punk Fest in Cumberland, Maryland. We're playing the third day on August 8th, along with our friends Agent Orange, the Effigies, and Rebelmatic. So that's going to be fun. And then the next day, on the way back to New York City, of course, we're playing in Bethlehem, PA. We're playing right outside the home base skate shop. It's like we're playing an outdoor skate thing. We're about to release a new video for the song Aggression. So all that is happening. And then, of course, Lori Dawn, are you out there?
Yes, I am.
How you doing? Do you know that on Sunday, August 23rd, it is the Women of the Pit
School Supply Drive, yes, with Sonic Bomb, World of Chaos, Butterbrain, and My War in our beloved Tompkins Square Park. We are going to be out there collecting school supplies for local schools, and we are also going to have soon a list of things to bring. We've consulted some teachers, and we've got a good list, so you won't be blindly shopping for that.
I guess that makes sense, right? Other than like school supplies and like that's a pretty vague statement, right?
I've learned a lot, because I would have thought, tons of notebooks and paper, but times have changed since we've been in school, and now they're doing a lot of things on the computer, so there are other supplies that they need rather than just tons of notebooks. As a matter of fact, some schools are moving away from that.
Interesting.
Yeah, but we're also working in a special ed classroom, so we're going to have some supplies for special needs children, which they make these scissors now that don't have like the finger holes. They're just like something that the kids can squeeze. It makes it easier for special needs kids to cut their little shapes out. And a lot of, fidget, what do they call them? Sensory toys.
Huh.
So, yeah.
RS wants to know, is spray paint on that list? are one of our graffiti people?
We don't want to know about that.
Yeah, I guess it's not on the list, RS. But
there is chalk, so they can start their life of vandalism out soft.
Well, come on, listen, it's not, spray paint necessarily doesn't have to be used for vandalism. God. So, yeah. Josh says, this is super important. I work with special needs adults and love when people take up this cause. Yeah. So there's going to be like a list that you're going to send, and I'll be able to post it, and we'll be able to talk about it on the show.
Absolutely. We'll post it. And for anybody out there who can't make it to our school supply drive, we're also going to have a Amazon wish list that I'll put up online soon. And you can shop right off the list.
Right on. Let me see what else. Well, and then the next month, we got Bad Luck 13 in Tompkins Square Park with Silence Equals Death, Tree, Fuggin' and RBNX. That should be quite an adventure. Did Stephen do this yet?
No, that's coming up August 15th at the Calling Bell in Huntington. Stephen is going to be showing his photography and poetry. There's going to be some live music for the opening of that show. And that exhibit will run from August 15th to, I believe, September 27th, somewhere around there. Oh, I could probably read it. Yeah, September 27th. So
good looking out for Stephen. All right, cool.
Okay.
Thank you, and carry on.
Yes, leaving the pod.
It's like the scene in Alien when they open it up.
Wait.
There you go. Listen, got to have a couple laughs, right? Right, RS? Right, Hobo Cakes? Great. Where was a great shot of Judas Priest? Where did I miss that? That said, you know what? Normally, let's do this.
Conditioned by indoctrination, conditioned by society. You're a victim of the digital age, a 21st century casualty. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Conditioned by misinformation, it's just the media telling us lies. Decipher fiction from the truth. Society's slow and tragic demise. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Everyone's got their fucking opinion.
Thanks. I wanted to. That gave me an excuse to stretch a little bit. So, let's keep running at it, right, Joel?
Yeah, man.
Let's bring our guest back on, Mr. Bob Bert. Hey, man.
Hey.
Let me put everyone in their right spot that I feel comfortable in. But Joel, you got anything moving forward on the Bob Bert timeline? I know you sent me a couple things that you want, like, so shoot, fire away.
Well, a lot of things were mentioned before the break. First of all, Jens rules. Jens is part of a book I'm working on. Some people know I'm doing an oral history of 80s New Jersey punk and hardcore. Jens plays into that history, which you'll read about when the book comes out. Also, he took a beautiful photograph of someone I loved very much who's no longer here, who's going to be written about in the book as well. So I have Jens' photography in there as well. So shout out to Jens. But in doing all this New Jersey stuff, obviously, one of the things I'm writing about is a label called Buy Our Records. So I want to first give a shout out, Bob, to our mutual friends, Lenny, Jim, and Chris from Buy Our Records, legendary Jersey punk label, who put out the Pussy Gold 5000 EP, which, if my memory is correct, that was the first one, besides the Exile cassette, that was really the first one kind of out of the gate for the 5-piece lineup of Pussy Galore, correct?
Yes.
Excellent. And I know one thing Buy Our Records did for not only Pussy Galore, but other bands on the roster, they got you to play Uncle Floyd. So got to mention Uncle Floyd. Yeah. Tell me about that, because I'm assuming a lot of people in the chat know the great Uncle Floyd, rest in peace, and Oogie and Netto and the whole thing. So what was that like for you guys to play on Uncle Floyd's show?
Well, it was a big thrill. I mean, of course I knew who he was. I watched him, and when I heard we were going on, I was like excited. And I remember we went there with Lenny and Jim, and I remember, getting really stoned on the way there with Neil, and then I just figured out we'd get there, be able to hang out, set up, and as soon as we got there, they just like threw us on, and it was just kind of like, and they didn't, we didn't bring any like drum stuff, so they just had a few drums laying around, so I had to we were lip syncing, and it was kind of weird because even though you're lip syncing, they still have the sound on in the studio. So if I would accidentally actually hit the cymbal, it would like crash. The sound would go over, and then and yeah, it was a blast. And then John's guitar fell off towards the end, and luckily I had someone at home record our segment, and that's the only and that's the footage that ended up being in the Pussy Galore videotape, and
you actually reconstituted some Uncle Floyd footage.
Yeah, and
That's
every
cool.
time everyone puts up that footage on YouTube, Floyd's lawyers would pull it down.
That's right. Yep.
And so
I deal with that shit all the time. I do. Constantly. I deal with that sort of stuff. Wanting to play someone's video that comes on the show. What's amazing now is how you just can't play anything now. With the bots. I can play a video without sound, and it'll get flagged and potentially shut down the feed of this live show. It's crazy now. You can't get away with anything now.
Yeah.
Funny thing about the Floyd experience and Buy Our Records, another band from that label played Uncle Floyd as well. Here's her name, boys and girls, Raging Slab.
Oh wow!
One of the greatest bands in history, in my opinion.
You love them.
They put out an album called Ass Master, and according to Lenny, the story goes, Floyd had no problem saying pussy on the show. He refused to say ass, and he used his finger to cover the ass on the record cover when he held it up. So that's a little fun tip.
That's good.
And then there was the infamous feud between Pussy Galore and Raging Slab.
Oh, that's right.
I had nothing to do with that. So
I saw Slab play a lot, and sort of maybe a little bit later than that, but as part of that whole sort of Raging Slab, Circus of Power, Princess Pang, the Throbs, it was a very vibrant time musically, and those bands, there was a little bit of a flurry with those bands getting signed for a minute there, right? Slab got signed to RCA, and there was a little bit of a scrum, but I saw Slab play a bunch of time, and they were badass, man. Fucking Elise was a great slide player. They were badass. I always thought I always liked Slab. I liked Raging. I like Circus of Power too back then.
I forgot about the feud. My apologies.
Oh, there you go. Come on, Joel. Stop.
Oops.
Stop blowing it up. Just Joel, just something you sent me. I'm not sure if this was a this is a conversation piece, because I'm trying to pull it into the present so we have some time. But this, where am I? Hold on. Okay, just poking it up. Oh, here you go, Joel. I know you sent this to me.
Yeah. Knoxville Girls. This is a little bit later. This is early 2000s. I believe this record came out in 2001. It was actually my favorite album of that year. Knoxville Girls was a little bit of a, I can confidently say it was a super group. Bob, it was yourself, Kid Congo from the Cramps, Gun Club, Bad Seeds, Jerry Teal, who you played with in a great band called the Chrome Cranks during the 90s. Honeymoon Killers, that's right. And I think the first time I saw you play live was at Maxwell's, of course, with the Knoxville Girls. One of my favorite bands, and in my opinion, a band that, in terms of your greater career, really deserves greater shine, I thought. And So I wanted to maybe ask you a little bit about kind of a synopsis of your time with them. And I know there was a Knoxville Girls regrouping recently, as there was with many of your former bands when you did your record release party for your solo album, which we'll get to in a bit.
Okay. Well, the Knoxville Girls came together out of the ruins of the Chrome Cranks. And so when the Chrome Cranks fell apart, I'm thinking 1997, 98 or something, you know, I was still hanging out at Jerry Teal's recording studio, the Funhouse, over on 4th Street near Avenue B. And at that time, we started like messing around, recording with me, him, and our friend Jack Martin. And there was all this kind of weird relationship going on with a few of the other members. And Kid Congo ended up moving in with Jerry Teal in the 6th floor walk up above the recording studio. And so we started, you know, playing together. And Larry Hardy of In the Red Records, before he even heard a note of music, just the fact that it was me and Kid in the same band offered to put out our records. And this one, In a Paper Suit, is actually our second album. We had an album before that. And we also had a keyboard player named Barry London. And we were a fun party band. It was kind of like no wave country. And and we, you know, we toured. We opened up for the White Stripes on a bunch of shows on the East Coast. And then we went out, we did a tour opening for Davey Allen and the Arrows from the motorcycle soundtrack days of the 60s. And you know, and then we had a show booked in Las Vegas at the end of 1999, in September of 1999. And then 9/11 happened and no one wanted to get on the airplane. And so that's kind of when we fell apart, you know, right after 9/11. But, you know, it's funny because I have not been to Las Vegas since the 60s when I was a little kid with my parents. Right. Yeah. And I was like, oh, and I still haven't been back out there.
Yeah.
And an interesting fact is both the Chrome Cranks and the Knoxville Girls played their last shows not knowing they were going to be their last shows, opening for Dead Moon.
Wow.
And I definitely don't want to.
You never know. You never know. In music, it was the last. You're like, you never know.
What?
It's happened to me. You never know.
You know, we shouldn't by any means gloss over Chrome Cranks because that was a powerhouse band back in the 90s. And I'm pals with Peter Aaron, the singer from Chrome Cranks. And, you know, I told him once, I said, look, if someone came to me and said, what was New York like in the mid-90s musically? I would immediately grab two records for them. One would be No Lunch, Degeneration. The second would be Love in Exile by the Chrome Cranks. And I mean, fantastic record. And
even when, excuse me, when we started to when we were decided we're doing the show with Bob, and I said, you know, give me something to lean into. You said Chrome Cranks. So that's out of everything, you know. Bob, you told me like this. Check this out. Hard.
Yeah, all the stuff the band did was good. The first album has a different drummer on it, but you know, Bob, I really love your work with the Cranks, and there was a moment there. There was a video on MTV off of this album, and you know, there was great press for the band, well deserved in my opinion. And I want to kind of circle back to your record release party recently because Chrome Cranks played, Knoxville Girls played. Genre, our friends out there in New York, they played a set of Pussy Galore covers. Genre is Death, I should say. So,
Wolf Manhattan Project.
Yeah. So, I mean, that must have been quite an undertaking to get everybody together to do these sort of mini reunion sets for that show.
Yeah, it was unbelievable because you know, I had gone to the Clem Burke tribute over at Bowery Palace, and which was amazing, it's like Glenn Matlock and Kathy Valentine, all these great people were playing, and while I was there, I was talking to my good friends Jason Victor and Kenneth Levine of the Skull Practitioners, a great New York band, and they were saying like, well, we should do something like this for you, and I said, well, I do have a record coming out, and it's coming out the weekend of my birthday, and that's how it started. And, so at first I was just kind of like thinking I'd, ask Peter Aaron and get other people to play. And then it just started ballooning. And like, once I got Kid Congo on board, which was, okay, it's going to be a great show now, no matter who else shows up. And so, so then, and then so we were going to do some Crank songs, and then William Weber said, okay, I'm coming out. And I didn't ask Jerry Teal because he had just gotten out of the hospital and he lived in New Orleans, and I knew it would be expensive. And then and he found out, he was kind of hurt, and I was just like, hey, I'm not snubbing you. And then all of a sudden he's coming. And then it's just like, yes, it was great. And totally sold out. There was tons of people outside trying to come in. The show was great. Every single band was fantastic.
Wow.
Genre did some Pussy Galore Sonic Youth songs. I joined them on stage and played the Sonic Youth song Flower with them. And then, and then Genre joined the Skull Practitioners, and they did Death Valley 69, which was incredible. And then, Knoxville Girls, first time we were in the same room in 27 years. And, everyone did 6 songs at the max. And, it was, people are still talking about that night. It just went so well. And I can't believe that I actually put it together and, ended up playing, 20 songs that night. And it was just.
That's great.
It was just a total success, and I'm, very still happy about it.
Hey, have you seen your Hardcore Legends trading card?
No.
There you go.
What is that? Is that new?
There you go. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
I need that sent to me so I could post it.
Yeah. Well, we have Josh. If you're watching, that's the front. And let me show you the back. The back is he did as usual. He did a great job. The back is great. Oh, he said brand new, debuting today. Look at the back of this.
Wow.
Wow.
That is so cool.
And this is my next question. Fun fact: in 2019, Bob published the book "I'm Just a Drummer: My Time Behind Sonic Youth, Pussy Galore, Chrome Cranks, and BB Gun Magazine," a book compiling his photos and interviews he did with artists that collaborated with or influenced him. Yeah, I was going to ask you about the book, which is impossible to get.
Yeah, sadly. 2 pressings sold out. The book is really cool. I wish people are still trying to get it and asking me for it. I don't know why he doesn't print another edition, but I'm currently working on a photo book with this company called Hat and Beard out of LA, because I have a lot of photos going back to the 70s where I took pictures, casual pictures of Warhol and Debbie Harry and Lou Reed, and then I had the fanzine in the 90s called BB Gun, and so I took a lot of photos for that. So this company is going to put out this book next year, and it's going to be a really nice hardcover book of all my photos, and they're going to set up gallery shows in LA, New York, and London. So I'm really excited about that.
That's
Bob,
awesome. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bob. You took those photos, those classic topless photos of Jen and Jay, right? For BB Gun, those were your shots?
No, those were Chris Buck.
Oh, okay.
I have one really cool photo I took of Jen and Jay, which was actually the night I met them, and But that's one of my favorite photos. It's funny because the photos of mine that are classic are like that one and the one of Steve Albini flipping the bird in front of the Stooges poster. And today's his birthday, which people are still posting.
Oh, wow.
And those were just some of my best photos were just one shot.
Yeah.
Like just a snapshot in time, random moment, and
yeah.
Not composed 6 in a row, just snap.
Yeah, not like a whole roll of film or whatever.
Something can be said for that approach.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and also there is you got a rookie card. Here's your look. You got your rookie card, bro.
Oh man! Holy shit!
Josh says it will be on Instagram later today or tomorrow. He'll tag you when it goes up.
Oh, that's so cool. Thank you so much. That's so great. And I'm on the same. So Bill Ward is going to be on. That's amazing.
Yeah. The circus rolls on, man.
I'm not worthy.
Yeah. When we booked the date, I'm like, man, I'm psyched. I gotta read his book, and I just couldn't get the book. I mean, they printed what, like 200 and then 300. I mean, I couldn't get the book.
No, they printed 400 2 times. So there's 800 of them in existence. The second edition even had added things that the first one didn't have, and I was going to add more stuff for a third edition. And he kept telling me, like, this year, but he just, he puts out all tons of stuff and it just hasn't happened. So, what are you going to do?
Yeah, got it. I guess it makes sense to let's sort of move it on to your solo stuff and kind of starting with. I'm not sure, if this isn't. Necessarily maybe in the timeline, but what sort of plays into you doing your solo work, and is it enjoyable? Why? And
Okay, well, Bewitched and the solo album that just came out are 2 completely different stories. Now, Bewitched, after I quit Sonic Youth, Thurston Moore did an interview with one of the British papers, and he made up a story that I had a new band called Bewitched with Suzanne, who was their lighting director. And that ended up turning into being like a solo experimental side project. And then I got offered to do a show opening for Spaceman 3 at Maxwell. And so I put a band together with local people. And then, that show didn't happen. And we ended up playing our very first show at Maxwell's with the band STP, which was Julie K. Fritz and Jackie Nimitz and Sally Barry and this girl Melissa. And we both played our first shows at Maxwell's. And this was right around the time when Sonic Youth signed to Geffen and Goo came out. So we both went on tour opening for Sonic Youth on the East Coast, and we're playing all these big places. I actually sang on the stage at Roseland, which was unreal. And so, but then we were supposed to go out and do the West Coast, but then we got bounced off the tour for some crappy band called Nirvana. And, so Bewitched turned into a real band. We recorded 2 albums. We were on this guy, Terry Tolkien, who's talk about characters. He had a label. He was an A&R guy at Elektra. He signed the Afghan Wigs and Luna and Stereo Lab at Elektra. And then he had his indie label called Number 6, which had us and the Unrest from DC and a few other bands. And we put out 2 albums. One was called Brain Eraser, and the other one was called Harshing My Mellow, which Terry actually, paid Steve Albini to come out and record, and Steve stayed at my house and made this the second album with us, and then we did a long tour of the U.S. and nobody was happy, and we fell apart. And I did a few things after that. Now the solo album that I just put out.
Right?
Yes, there it is. From 2000 and my wife passed away in early 2012, and that was after like caregiving for many years.
So my and our condolences.
Yes, and so later in that year, 2012, I get the call from Lydia Lunch, and I end up, she was living in Barcelona at the time. But she put together a retrovirus to do a retrospective of her musical career. And there was no one better to do that than me because I'm a huge fan. I know her music inside and out. And so that was retrovirus. And so that was we ended up touring the world from 2012 until early 2023. Which was the greatest experience because I love the music and it's great to be like touring the world in my 60s and she took me to places I've never been before. I'd never been to Australia. I went there 3 or 4 times with her, and we played in Moscow and we played in Colombia and Brazil, and it was so great. Towards the end of that, I hook up with John Spencer again. I'm banging on all that metal stuff, and once I hooked up with John, he's a total road dog. So it's just like ended up doing 221 shows around the world with him, and that's with a 2-year break of COVID, and so. But he got me back to. The only time I've been to Japan was 2 times, and both times, once with Pussy Galore and once with John. So it was both times with him. And so that was great. And then both of those bands, Retrovirus and John Spencer and the Hitmakers, both fell apart in early 2023, which was good because my girlfriend now that I was living with started getting ill, and I had to become a caregiver for her. So I couldn't travel anymore. And so I was stuck at home, and as it turned out, it was a real crazy thing because she developed like advanced full-blown dementia at the age of 55. Now she's in a nursing home being cared for, and I'm back on my own. And so I had some time. And I'm very lucky to have this practice space recording studio that I share in town with my longtime good friend Mark C. from the band Live Skull. And someone asked me to do a solo performance, so I took on the challenge, and I made this crazy percussion setup. And I did about 4 performances like that, all in New York or in Brooklyn. And it was getting a good response, and so I said, well, let me lay this stuff down, and very casually, I started, I would go in for a couple afternoons and lay down some stuff, and I'd take it home and listen to it for a month and go back. It was really casual, and before you know it, I was digging what I was hearing, and I kind of had it was short, but I had an album, and so I presented it to Bar None Records, who also have their offices right in the same building where I made the record. And they've been around for 40 years, and I've known them. Glenn Morrow from Maxwell's and all the bands he's been in, and so yeah, they put it out, and people love it. I got an A- from Robert Christgau. Can you believe that?
That's nice to bring that in at this stage of the game. Congratulations. Hey, let's can we take a couple questions from around the world while we're at it?
Yeah, sure.
Hobo Cakes asks, did you enjoy working with John both in PG and Hitmakers? Did you write your own stuff in both bands?
No, those were both John Spencer's trips. it was both of those bands were completely John's creation, and I had nothing to do. He did give me a couple songwriting credits in Pussy Galore, and a lot of times, it's a complaint from a lot of drummers in the world of like, hey, I didn't write the song, but it would be a totally different song if I didn't play on it. And,
excuse me, Levon Helm.
Yeah. Excuse me, Levon Helm.
I mean, I think that's the big case in point right there. Right
Yeah,
there is the Levon Helm and the band thing, right?
It was a big issue with the Go-Go's and a lot of bands. But
that's right.
I was never like that,
Yeah.
I was like that a little bit with the Chrome Cranks because a lot of times, Peter might have been taking more credit than he should have, but whatever. But then that was the one great thing about Sonic Youth was it was always a democracy. I still get songwriting royalties from them to this day,
awesome.
45 years later. But
that's awesome.
Did I enjoy working with John? Yes, it's great to I mean, I'm really proud of Pussy Galore, and I
fantastic.
And to come out of Sonic Youth and not just disappear into the ether and be able to, when I was in Pussy Galore, and we were pretty much at the same level as Sonic Youth up until like we broke up, and then all of a sudden, things changed with 120 minutes and all that stuff.
Is that right, Cindy? Not a question, but a random piece of trivia. Bob and I are cousins. Is that right? Are you and Incendiary cousins? Can that be?
I not that I know of.
Cindy, what's up with that?
I never heard of a cousin named Cindy.
What's up?
I guess I can't date her if we're cousins.
No, we can't have that. Good. RS always with a good one. Be great. What was your first car?
My first car was a Chevy Vega.
Oh wow.
Which you don't see anymore. It was like the Ford
Chevy Vega. Was that the old hatchback thing?
Yeah.
Cindy says it's true. She says it's true. We've never met. Come on, Cindy. You might need to reach out.
Okay.
You got people. You got people out there. Welcome to the New York Hardcore Chronicles.
Tell her to contact me, and I'm curious to know how we are cousins.
Welcome to Ancestry. I mean, the New York Hardcore. She says my grandmother is Tizzini from Springfield, Mass.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right. The plot thickens here on the New York Hardcore. Welcome. Listen, is there anybody out there you're looking to find deep on the family tree? Reach out to the New York. All right. Let's see.
Well, that was interesting.
Listen, man. Can you show us some of your paintings? Anything close by?
Well, I did the cover of my new solo album. That's a painting.
This one right here?
Yeah.
There you go. Good. Yep.
I made a bunch of paintings during the pandemic, and that was one of them. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I have. If you go to Facebook, I have a Bob Bert's artwork page there somewhere. You can see all my paintings there.
Fantastic. Did he ever? I'm answering this one for you. Did he ever play CBGB with any band? Oh hell yeah.
Sonic Youth.
Hell yeah. Sonic Youth. Every band he's mentioned, basically, right?
Chrome Cranks played there. Everybody, yeah. Pretty much every band I've been in played there.
I mean, you've probably played CBGBs 50 times, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we've kind of asked. I think we asked this early on, but maybe a little bit later. Who are your drumming inspirations? Are there any these days, or as you became more of a mature musician?
So I don't think of myself as a really good drummer, so every drummer I see impresses me.
Right.
My big influences during the 70s were Jerry Nolan, Clem Burke, And during the No Wave days, Ikawe Mori from DNA. I like jazz. Max Roach I've been listening to a lot lately. Elvin Jones. And there's some even today. Alex, the drummer of the Skull Practitioners, is absolutely amazing.
Got it. Good.
Are we gonna be there?
Joel Galston.
Yeah. the powerhouse drummer. The powerhouse drummer of Pigface.
I got a question.
Please, as we're heading down the home stretch, go ahead.
I'll preempt it with a story. It must have been 2019. You and John were playing somewhere in Alston, Mass. I want to say, and the name of the venue is escaping me. But I went down to see you, and you and I were chatting before the show. And as one does in this age, one must get the commemorative selfie photo of the experience that we were talking, right? So I grabbed my phone, and there's a lady in front of us, and she says, "Oh, I'll take that for you." Oh, how nice. So she took the photo. She handed me back the phone, and you looked at me and you said, "Do you know who that is?" And I took a second. I went, "That's Julie from Pussy Galore." Then it dawned on me, wait a minute, I'm talking to Bob. Julie's here. John's here. Oh. So there was a little bit of a quasi Pussy Galore reunion that night.
Yeah.
So my question is, are you, besides John and Christina, are you in touch with any of the other former members of the band?
Well, yeah. I mean, actually, Julie added her voice to my cover version of "Fuck You Man" on the record.
Right.
And Kurt Wolf I run into once in a while. I'm friendly with pretty much every member of every band I've ever been in. There's a few people. It was so weird. Last week, I'm walking down the street, and all of a sudden, I get stopped, and I'm face to face with Peter Missing. And it's kind of weird because, and it turned out he was really nice, and we chatted for a few minutes. I really regret not taking a photo with him, but it really kind of blew my mind because, I've seen him around a couple times, but I always kind of, never made a point of it.
Were you part of the PG reunion at Maxwell's?
Yes. 2011, and that was that was amazing because when I got the email, I almost fell off my computer chair. It was just like I never in a million years thought that was going to happen, and it was such a great experience. And at the time, I was broke, and I was really thinking like, "Oh, great, let's do some shows, blah blah blah," and it just never happened again. And then I found out later on that, if you watch the video clip that's on YouTube that Skeleton Boys shot, it's like 7 minutes of the show, and John, he looks so happy, but it turned out that like he didn't like revisiting his angry past, so he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to continue, which was a bummer for me because I was really hoping it would.
That's a bit of a drag. Moving into the future, with the solo album out, thanks for coming on and being part of the show. What does the future hold for you? What are your hopes and dreams? What are you looking at?
Well, I'm just glad I'm alive. That I made it to the present. I wake up every morning, I'm like 71 years old. I'm glad I'm here, and I'm just enjoying life. I'm going to shows. In the last month, I did, I played some songs at the Johnny Thunder's birthday party at Valerie Palace with Diane Gentile.
I saw that, yeah.
And then I had my big bash, and then also I played at the Greg Foreman tribute and Alan Vega birthday party tribute, and I also sat in for Live Skull because their drummer couldn't do it, so I did a gig with them. So
people don't believe you're 71, by the way.
Oh, well. Hey, I'm the only one here that still has all my hair.
Seriously. How'd you pull that off? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you with that.
So.
Yeah, great, good stuff. Joel, anything parting for Bob?
Well, first and foremost, it's always nice chatting with you, Bob. I was thinking when it was we first met, had to have been 20 years ago. So I always appreciate seeing you. And
for a book you were writing about the swans. Do you remember that?
That's right. I interviewed you in some like big warehouse or rehearsal space out there in Hoboken.
Yeah, it might have been the same place I have now, probably.
Yeah. So we go back a little bit, and always good to chat with you. And for the viewer who's unfamiliar with Bob or wants to dig a bit deeper, there's a ton of stuff we didn't get into. International Shades being one of the bands, $5 Priest and it's just good to have you on the show. And I'm sure our paths will cross again soon, my friend.
Thank you.
Bob, is there anybody you want to thank? Anybody you want to shout out?
There's probably a million. And just thank everyone that's, supported me and I mean, everyone. Sonic Youth, Pussy Galore.
Right on.
In the Red Records, Larry Hardy's been a big supporter.
All right. Thank you, Bob, and good night, Hoboken, New Jersey, wherever you are. So thank you so much, guys. And I hope to see you too. We love you. We love you also. Take care.
Take care.
Joel, you always bring in such kind souls to do the show. Joel, your music knowledge goes deep, man, and I have much respect for it. And whenever you say, "Hey, would you be interested in this guy?" I'm always like, "Well, if you're doing it with me, hell yeah."
Yeah, I great show today. I appreciate that. As far as kind souls, I heard from Bill the other day.
Bill Ward.
Yeah, Bill and his wonderful wife Jackie, and Bill's assistant Elise contacted me personally and wished me a happy birthday, which I thought was very kind of them. So Bill's doing great. He's excited to come on the show.
I hear he's in a wheelchair now.
Yeah. He posted a little bit of an explanation about that. He's doing well. Age will come to all of us at one point or another. And of course, today's the anniversary of Ozzy's passing. So certainly wanted to say his name on the show today as well. But you're gonna love having Bill on the show.
Come on, it's a highlight of my career. We're gonna have Bill Ward from Black Sabbath on the 450th episode of the show. I mean, really, that's incredible, and I thank you for it. It's been a lot of hard work, and it's been a lot of joyous work, but it's incredible that we're gonna climb that mountain, and the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live is gonna have Bill Ward. So that said, thanks, man. I'll talk to you soon in the next couple days.
Take care.
All right. That's what's up. Another great episode in the bag, 439, Bob Bert. Thanks a lot, everybody. We will see you in a couple days. We'll be back with Blag from the Dwarves. So that's what's up. So until next time, do good things and good things will happen to you.
Conditioned by indoctrination, conditioned by society. You're a victim of the digital age.